Welcome to Get That Job. This is a new program that we're starting once a month to help job seekers and those who want to effectively manage their careers know what to do and what not to do, and common problems and advanced strategies for job search that you'll hear straight from the experts. I'm Sue Connelly, and I'm the founder of KITlist.org. It's a job email list of 70,000 people, and I get questions all the time from job seekers about various things about job search, especially with the new technologies and the changes in this economy. I'm no expert, but I do know some great experts. So I would like to welcome two of our guests today, Christine Young and John Goldberg, both of whom are kind enough to join us tonight. And Christine is a principal of CCY Consulting, and she actually brings the perspective of someone who's hired over 1,000 people for Fortune 500 companies, and she also has been advising over 800 people in their careers through workshops and one-on-one coaching to really help people effectively manage their whole, not just their career, but really how it fits in with their life as well. She's worked with Stanford University, small little school up the road here, Juniper Networks, Sony, Hewlett-Packard, Intel, and Johnson & Johnson. And Christine is if you help me with the title here, so you're a specialized
SPHR, Senior Professional in Human Resources.
Which means she's really smart, and she's been certified. And she also has her master's in counseling psychology. And John, which by the way, he is a wildlife photographer in his spare time, but John brings the perspective of someone who's hired and managed large groups as a director of materials for companies such as Applied Materials, Intel, let me see if I can get, and Ericsson, and you also now have your own practice as well, where you're helping companies to really kind of learn effective marketing for themselves, work on messaging and positioning. So, and then the most important thing is you are one of the favorite presenters at a really great organization here in the Silicon Valley called ProMatch, which is a service of the EDD, California, oh gosh, help me on this one again.
Employment Development Department.
The EDD, there we go. But what it is this is a group that really helps people on the professional level get back to work. And it's a 6-month program, and there's a lot of training and great materials and content. And then the nice thing is that people who are part of the program volunteer back. And that's one of the premises of the KITlist, and I think about a lot of what we're doing is it's pay it forward. When people are out of work, I think they tend to kind of focus on the first thing, which is, I need a job. And really what it is looking and saying, what can I do to help others? And that just opens up the possibilities. So without further ado, I think we want to start talking to our wonderful experts about, first of all, I'm going to start with mistakes. So Christine, what are some mistakes from a recruitment and even from a coaching perspective that you see people make that, I think most people think that they don't make them, but I'm really amazed how many mistakes I see from fairly senior level people. So what are some of your 2 or 3 pet peeves that you see?
Clearly, the biggest mistake that people make is not tailoring their resume to the job that they're going for. Since February, I've been working at a small startup in downtown Palo Alto, and I've had about 50 requisitions to fill, which is a huge rec load for one person. And I cannot believe that people just don't take the time to design their resume around the job. So that to me is the biggest one, and I think as a hiring manager you can probably agree with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, if I can ask another question, I get this a lot. A lot of people don't do a cover letter because they think no one reads them. But I've heard quite the opposite, that when it counts, it really counts. So what would you recommend for someone to put in a cover letter?
Well, first of all, I don't read cover letters. Okay? and I've stopped reading cover letters because most people just write garbage, and it's pretty frustrating to just continually read the same 2 or 3 lines, I'm applying for this job. So if you're going to write a cover letter, write a great one, and start with a hook and let me know that you understand my business. And please don't put anything in the cover letter that's not also in the resume, because we recruiters have what's called applicant tracking systems, and I actually have to click on a separate button to look at a cover letter, and frankly, if I'm looking through 50 resumes, I don't want to spend the time to do that.
I think it brings up a really good point that you're calling out kind of the key points from your resume, but also is it effective to put on the very top of your resume kind of the 3 things that you bring to that particular job to make it easy for someone who's doing a quick scan?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think you should reflect the job title at the top of your resume. If you can, reflect the job title and be honest about it. And I think you need to tweak the summary section of your resume. You've got to tweak the bullets. Take a look at the job description. All of the secrets are right there. Take time to do that. I'd rather, in my career coaching business, have clients spend time tweaking their resume and tailoring their resume than to spend time on cover letters. Now, that being said, a great cover letter is the most beautiful thing in the world. A great cover letter is just a beautiful thing.
I do find that it's about 50-50, those who say they absolutely require a cover letter. So I'd say if you do it anyway, because if you want the job, it's worth the effort. And if they don't need it, make sure your resume is looking really good.
Yes.
John, for you, when you're looking at someone's resume, does someone have to be 100% fit for what you're asking for, or are there other things that you take into consideration that might make one candidate appear better than another?
In a market like this, it's so competitive. I know a lot of companies do look to see if you're an exact fit. For myself as a hiring manager in the past, I look to see really how articulate they are, how they reflect on what they've done in the past, and most importantly, what are their verifiable accomplishments.
And that's a good point, because we do know that some people fib. And I've heard it come back to bite people big time after even being in a job for quite some time. So I think the old motto of tell the truth really stands very true here, because especially in this internet world, there is no data that's not easily accessible or found. So I would imagine that, aside from being a good practice. But
And once it's on the internet, it's on the internet for good.
there you go.
And I think you can be, what I tell clients is be a polished version of yourself. You know, there's always a way you can say it, and say it with confidence and flair, and understand really what you want to communicate to someone.
Exactly. Well, when we talk about applying for a job, right now I get a lot of people who say, I send out 1 million resumes and I don't hear back from anyone. And I'm more of a person that recommends doing more of a rifle shot approach. And then when you're looking for kind of key companies in which you want to work, is it more effective to also kind of take a multi-phase approach where you're coming at that same company a number of ways, through LinkedIn, through contacts you know? So what would be some ways that can help someone's resume or their application rise to the top? What are some techniques?
You know, the first thing I thought of when you brought that up was, and I want to just take the conversation here for a second, Sue.
Go for it.
Is rather than focus on the companies that have open positions, think about a strategic job search. Think about all companies that you're interested in that could be interested in you. Don't focus on the 30% of companies that are advertising. Look at the 70% of companies that aren't advertising, because jobs are always in development at all times. You get someone that quits on a Friday, right? And then pretty soon you're talking to your friends over the weekend. You've gone to a party, you're getting together with the guys and play soccer or something. Did you play soccer?
I did.
And you're saying, hey, so-and-so just quit. I'm looking for something. That's a hidden job, and that is a great way for people to get attached to that important area. So I think, you know, this method of just focusing on the internet drives me nuts, because it's the wishing and hoping method. That's what it is.
I always say to people too that where there's smoke, there's fire. When you see jobs being posted for another discipline that isn't necessarily your own, but it's a company that looks interesting, sometimes marketing jobs follow engineering jobs. So if you see a company hiring for engineers, that is a good place to start kind of getting ahead of the curve there. But I think you bring a really good point about telling your own personal network. The people who are looking for a job, looking to fill a job, are telling their friends. And they usually want to find out through a personal referral. And then also people who are looking for jobs need to tell their friends. I find people don't really know what their friends and family do.
That's right.
So what can someone tell someone who's next to their kid at the soccer game, or at a function, what is a good way to kind of put out what you do in a way that's interesting and compelling and let people know how they can kind of help you?
Well, one of the ways is in a conversational manner. Describe what you enjoy about what you do.
Yes.
I don't have to tell somebody that I'm a consultant that does this, but I can say, one of the things that I really enjoy is when I get a chance to get in front of a room and work with some folks who enjoy what we're doing. Saying that will get somebody to think, well, wait a minute, maybe this is a person who can come in and teach us how to develop our presentation skills or teach us how to negotiate a contract. And even though they don't have it exact, it can get you in the door. It's just the very first point of marketing, correct? So you're really doing a very low-level marketing when you're seeing somebody at your kid's soccer game.
Exactly.
And then once you get
That's
that
right.
conversation rolling, once they open the door more, you can get into some more detail.
Yeah.
Of course, the one thing you don't really want to tell them is, I'm unemployed. I really need a job.
So you bring up a perfect point. We had a KITlist event last week, and the concept was called friend working, because I don't know about you, but I hate the term networking. It sounds cold and calculating, and it strikes fear in my heart. But if you think of going to meet with friends, even friends you haven't met yet, but the idea and the spirit of friend working is to come with the attitude of helping someone else. So instead of coming in and saying, alms for the poor, I need a job, it's more like, well, what can I do for you, John? What are you looking for? Wait, what kind of contact do you need? So how are you finding? And in fact, you are one of the extraordinary experts over at ProMatch, and also with your Jumpstart program that you actually teach for them. What are some of the networking tips that are kind of the really secret sauce of networking when it's kind of turning it around from all about me to opening up the possibilities?
A couple things, a personal example. When I went to ProMatch, I was scared to death of the concept of networking. But what you learn really fast is networking, friend working, is no different than introducing yourself. Christine, it's nice to meet you. I appreciate it. What do you do? What do you do for fun? You develop that one-on-one relationship, which is all that networking is. That's what I encourage people to do. Again, it's so much like marketing your business, where if you do a hard-hitting marketing campaign, it'll fail.
It's a turnoff.
So what would you recommend for someone who's a little worried about going alone to an event? Is there a way to buddy system it for the event, and what about after the event?
Absolutely, there's a way to buddy system it.
That's a good idea.
When I first went, I would go with friends, and then I realized really quickly, I went off on my own, they went off on their own. But it was nice to be able to get in the car with somebody, lose the fear when you got there because your support system is there, and then get back together again afterward to compare notes. In fact, even share some contacts. Buddy system, in fact, in the whole job hunting process, the buddy system is critical. And again, in taking your business to your clients, your customers, the buddy system can almost guarantee success.
So we know that, well, first of all, ProMatch has the success teams.
Yes.
What we're going to be introducing for the KITlist are Catalyst teams, which are people who are invested in change for the good in your life. But the whole concept is you get a group of people who are committed to each other and to meet regularly and to be general accountability as you set your goals. And they always say about success is the first, most successful people write it down. And then the ones who are even more successful than that actually have a group with which they are responsible, they're accountable. What does ProMatch do? And what are some things with some of the success teams that are some good tips?
Oh gosh, what does ProMatch do? Everything. In the concept of success teams, what's encouraged is you may attend one or two. The groups meet on a weekly basis, consistent place, consistent time, with agendas. So for example, my success team, which I think has evolved into a wonderful team, we actually have a process. We come in with the old-fashioned weekly reports. Your accomplishments for the prior week, plans for the next week, areas where you need help.
Right.
And we discuss these with each other as we each go through our turn. That encouragement that we get, all of a sudden, like Christine saying to me, John, you really did that last week? You were able to pull it off, and
It's
do you
so
need help
powerful.
next week?
And you can role
powerful.
play too,
Yeah.
because don't you find
Absolutely.
too that you help people in interviewing and role playing? And I think that what happens is there are some things that your family might want to tell you, or if you had friends that were really honest with you, that things might be getting in the way of your job search. One of the things I find is people who don't realize they've got that black cloud over them. And it creeps in really easily, and it happens whenever anyone's afraid, but fear is contagious and people will run the other way. So I think that
Yes.
having a success team, you come in with an optimistic attitude and you're all investing in each other's success. But when you're also encouraging people, you as a coach would give them objective advice, but also could people who don't have a coach per se ask family members? And then what would a coach be able to do to help someone who's kind of stuck?
Well, here's an interesting story. I had someone call me, and his wife said to him, "You need to see a career coach." And I talked to him on the phone. I talked to him on the phone. Had a great phone manner, had a wonderful resume, and I almost didn't want to see him because I felt like he'd been getting interviews and that kind of stuff. But the problem was he'd been getting interviews but no offers. When I sat down and met with him, I saw exactly what the problem was. He was very reserved and very muted. And so we worked on some of his gesturing. We worked on a little bit more excitement for him. And he got a job in 2 weeks.
I think that's the key because, well, there are some things that are easily remedied obstacles that you just don't know about, where you do need to go to a professional. And there are other things that a group that's invested in your success can help you. And one of the things that I think is that ProMatch is amazing. It's based here in Mountain View, but it's not cross-country, but people can actually start their own groups or meet with a coach. But tell me, how can someone really tell who's a good coach? Because if you're out of work, money is, a precious resource. What are some things to really look for to know that that person is really the best fit for you?
Well, I think it's like any other relationship, and all coaches do the first free meeting. So that's the way you do it. And of course, personal referral, you can take a look at reports on Yelp, those kinds of things.
That builds the credibility. It makes it a little easier. One thing that we talked about earlier in another meeting was people tend to kind of slow down at Christmas time and the holidays, thinking that there isn't going to be, it's not worth their effort, there's not a lot of hiring. Can you talk to that one?
Oh, I love this because this is the time of year that people start saying to me, "Oh my goodness, I'm going to do as much as I can before Thanksgiving, and then I'm going to take the rest of the year off." In fact, as a recruiter, as a corporate recruiter, I've made a ton of offers in the month of December. The Department of Labor, I remember I told you the statistic, and it shocked you. I don't know if you know this. The 3 heaviest hiring months of the year are December, January, and February.
Right.
So there's a lot of very strategic things you can do to further your job search, and of course that is networking. Going to parties that you're invited to, and really taking an interest in other people. I think the other thing is people don't travel as much in the month of December. People are in their office more. Some people feel the gift of giving, and so when you call for that information meeting, you're going to hear a yes, perhaps, rather than a "I'm too busy."
Well, I think another thing people need to remember is that not every job that's available is posted, and in your own personal network, there could be someone, as you said, has an immediate opening and it's off the grid. So this is really great seed planting time, I think. And I think it's looking at things in a continuum that you need to be networking all the time, or friend working.
Yes.
But John, can you talk to, do you do it just when you need a job, just when you're looking for a job, or?
Interesting question, because a lot of people think that once they're in a job, they don't need to network anymore. They can let their network go. I've done the same thing in the past. It's the best time to network. You've got new people you're working with. You've got the old people that, one, you should feel grateful that you have.
That's the former people, not the old people.
Yes, right.
Okay. All right.
Unlike the old people.
The old people.
And by keeping them in your loop, in your process, you're also introducing them to the people that you're now working with, increasing the size of everybody's network. So absolutely don't make the mistake of forgetting about the people that you left behind. Make sure they remain in your process. In fact, even things like the success team. Once you get that job,
Stay.
Don't leave your team. If you have an accountability partner, keep it going. It's part of a way to ensure your success, because You're held accountable to people that are not your boss or your family. You have your team of supporters who will be honest with you and tell you, you know, you're really not putting enough effort into that assignment that your boss gave you. And they can tell you that without saying, oh yes, that'll be on your performance appraisal.
So getting the job is just step one, but keeping and flourishing in the job really is when you need that network as well. And I think the whole key about true friend working is really the pay it forward concept. So once you have the job, you're in the position to be able to help someone else get into your company or get into another company. But this also brings up something I think that people tend to forget, is follow-up. Follow-up with people who helped them get in somewhere or a recruiter they spoke to. What are some classic mistakes people are doing about that? And how simple can it be to keep in touch and to let people know what's going on?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the classic, we're so busy, right? I mean, we've got a million things to do in our life. And yet I feel like sometimes I've really given back to particular people. I can sometimes spend an hour on the phone with someone, and I'm happy to do that for no cost at all because I really enjoy what I do. And then I'll say, would you let me know what happens?
Exactly.
Don't hear a thing.
And there's another approach too that ties in with that. Think about if you're trying to get business. You're on the outside, you're marketing something.
Yeah.
What do you do when somebody invites you into their office, spends an hour, introduces you to their business? Well, to continue that sales process, you send a thank you note.
Right.
You have to send a thank you note to the recruiter that helped you, to whoever you interviewed with, and sometimes for practice, send one to your success team. Let them know their help. But I also believe strongly in something else. Besides thanking them directly, is go back and volunteer with the people that helped you. ProMatch is a great example. There's actually a lot of us that are long gone as members of ProMatch,
that's right.
but we come back month after month, in some cases week after week, to help them design workshops, to help work with people on an individual basis, and to say, you know what, I'm available. If there's someone you think might want to talk to me that I can help, please give them my phone number.
And it's fun and empowering. I think the main thing that people need to know is that giving back is incredibly easy, and your energy tends to multiply as a result. And the circle of goodness and things and opportunities, it just starts to unfold in an amazing way. And I really think that what people tend to want to do is look at the job search as a serious thing. And I think what it's really doing is pulling it back and saying, you know, how do you make it personal? How do you make it fun? And not, and I think, in particular, I think one of you was saying before that companies are looking for people with more entrepreneurial spirit. That when you have a commitment to the company, you are resourceful, that actually gives you an edge over all the other people that are submitting. Is that still a true thing, or?
Think about it. The most successful companies in this valley fostered entrepreneurship inside. Now that's changed in some ways, but those companies also fostered a lot of startups, a lot of people like us who have gone out on our own, in fact. And we're entrepreneurs in a way thanks to the companies that helped teach us to be entrepreneurs.
And so if you get the boot at your company, you might actually have an opportunity to start your own new business. And as Steve Jobs said in his commencement speech to Stanford, you went, and not until later you see all the dots connect, and what looked like something that was bad can end up being incredibly good. So I wanted to say thank you, both of you, both Christine and John, for being generous with your time. We have just a short bit here, but we are going to be having monthly talks where we can get more information from great people like you. And for anyone who's looking for a job, the KITlist is free to job seekers. And if you have a friend who's looking for a job, take a moment, spend some time with them, and just strategize and see if you have some contacts, some connections. If you reach out, even if you're not looking for a job, amazing things can happen, and have some fun with it. And we've got some ideas in this program today. Just do one thing today that you haven't done before and see what happens. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Boy, that was the quickest 30 minutes ever.